Hello PS51 and welcome back to DreamYard. In our last lesson we learned to do portraits. We're going to continue with our portrait series by adding some hairstyles to it. So get your pencil and your paper and your erasers and we'll meet back in a second. Hey, how'd you get up there? Anyway, stay up there. That's a great point of view. You'll get to see it from a different perspective. I'll make sure to add those new vocabulary words to our word wall. Now it's time to prepare our paper. Fold your paper in half. Make sure to line up the sides so that they're nice and straight and even. Then press your paper so that your fold stays. Now fold the paper again and do the same thing by making sure that your edges are lined up and straight. Now open it up and you should have 4 rectangular shapes. We'll call those panels. Now let's number our panels. You can use your pencil. I'm going to use my pen so the mark is clearer and you'll be able to see it better. 1, 2, 3, 4 panels. We're going to be drawing portraits in each of those panels. So let's start by putting a guideline in each of the panels. Remember, guidelines will be erased at the end, so they should be drawn so light you can hardly even see them. And since we're drawing 4 portraits, all 4 panels will need a guideline. So draw a very light line that divides panel 1 in half, and you might as well keep on going straight down and divide panel 3 in half too. Now let's move on to panel 2. Divide it in half and keep going straight down until you hit panel 4. Now let's draw the shape of the face in each of the panels. Let's start with panel 1. And we'll do this in all 4 of our panels. I want to show that all faces are not the same, so I use different shapes for each panel. Now it's time to add more guidelines. Let's add the guidelines for the eyes, the nose, and the mouth in all 4 of the panels. These guidelines will help us know where to place all the features in our portrait, as well as help us with our symmetry. It's time for me to roll up my sleeves and get started with the eyes. For the first portrait, let's make 2 arched shapes above the guideline. You've done it before, so this should be practice. Remember, we're trying to work with symmetry, so whatever shape you make on one side, you want to try to repeat that same shape on the other side. Once you're satisfied with the shapes that you've made for the eye, darken it in and use the bottom part of the guideline as the bottom part of your eye. Now it's time to make the eyeballs. Draw the circle inside of the shape and put 2 little circles inside of the eyeball to represent the glare. Don't color those 2 little circles in, but color in the outside shape around them. Now let's create some different eyes in panel 2 for our next portrait. This time, make the shape for the eyes below the guideline. Once you've done it on both sides and are happy with the symmetry, now you can darken it in. Use the top part of the guideline as the top part of your eye. Make your eyeball within the shape and color it in the same as you did in portrait 1. Let's create our next portrait in panel 3. To make the eyes in this portrait, we're going to combine the techniques that we used in portrait 1 and in portrait 2. Make an arched shape above the guideline like you did in portrait 1. And then make a smiley face below the guideline like you did in portrait 2. Use the same technique to create the other eye on the other side. Try to make both eyes look the same, that way you'll be practicing your symmetry. Once you finish off your eyes, let's move to panel 4 for our last portrait. I want to make the eyes really look like a cartoon for this one. I make 2 circles for the outside shape of the eye. Then I draw 2 more circles inside that shape for the eyeballs. And I finish up the eyes by adding more circles and coloring it in the inside shape. Now it's time to add the noses. I want my noses to all look different too, so for the first portrait, I'll do a wavy nose. in my next portrait, I'll just put 2 dots to represent the nostrils. For my next one, I'll put 2 dots and then 2 parentheses to make the nose look a little bit more defined. For the last portrait in panel 4, I'll use the same technique I did in portrait 1 and make a wavy shape for the nose, but this time I'll add a bridge. Now it's time to add the mouth, and I want them each to have a different expression. I've given you some examples in some previous lessons on how to do the mouth, so now you can try it out for yourself. I'm going to do one mouth that's closed, one mouth that's open, another mouth that's kind of frowning, and another one with a big wide smile. Now I'm going to give my portrait some eyebrows, but watch this. In portrait 1, I'm going to use symmetry to create the eyebrows. See how they look the same on both sides? But in portrait 2, I don't want to use symmetry to make the eyebrows, so they're going to be different on each side. For portrait 3, I'll use symmetry again to create the eyebrows. But on portrait 4, I won't use symmetry, I'll make them different on each side. Now let's take a little time to look at all the portraits that we've created. They each look so different. I think they all have different personality traits and physical traits. Let's focus on the physical traits by giving them even more unique features. I'll make small ears for portrait 1, big ears for portrait 2, pointy ears for portrait 3, and bunny ears for portrait 4. This is fun. Let's add some more physical traits. For portrait number 1, I'm going to add a beauty mark and some eyelashes. For portrait number 2, I'm going to make them an older person. So I'm going to add some wrinkles, and I'm going to give them a mustache and a beard. Ooh, I'm going to put on some glasses for portrait number 3. And for portrait number 4, I'm going to give them a big fluffy bang and big eyelashes. Look at all the different hairstyles I gave to my portraits. That makes them all have such unique physical traits. Can you do the same? Can you add different hairstyles to all of your different characters? You need some help and you want to see how I did it? Okay, well then you have to tune in for our next lesson. We'll continue our journey with more hairstyles and learning to use our art vocabulary words. And that's the end of our, hey, where are you? Oh, there you are. You was looking at me from up there. Now you're looking at me from over there. You changed your point of view. We'll talk about that more in our next lesson when we do an art project that involves point of view. Until then, bye for now, PS51.